Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this regular meeting of Fernie City Council held on January 27th, 2026. Kisuk Yukit. We acknowledge the city of Fernie is located within Kukinamukas, the unceded territory of Yakutat Nucleate First Nation. We recognize that we live and work within their vast lands. The Kanahunik are from Yakutat Nucleate and are members of the Tanaha-speaking peoples of British Columbia, Idaho, and Montana. With that, I'll call the meeting to order at 6:31 p.m. and asks for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation: that the agenda of the January 27th, 2026 regular meeting be amended to 1, remove item 11.1 Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass Memorandum of Understanding approval from the agenda, and 2, move item 6.1 Strategic Action Plan proposed sequencing to inform budget discussions to the front of the business items, and that the agenda of the January 27th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted as amended. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Audia Kelly. Any discussion? And just we have removed the Elk Valley Recreation Access Pass just as a matter of information because one of the other signatories, one of the other three communities, has asked to make an amendment to that for consideration. So with that, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation: that the minutes of the January 13th, 2026 regular meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. I'll now invite the public in attendance or participating electronically who wish to comment items listed on the meeting agenda in accordance with section 3.7.3 of the procedure bylaw to address council, except speakers must not address council regarding a matter for which a public hearing must be held or has been held pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of the matter or adoption of the bylaw. Speakers must not address council regarding a permit for which public notice must be given or has been given pursuant to the Local Government Act prior to council's consideration of issuance of the permit. A speaker may only address council for a maximum of 3 minutes, and speakers are asked to state their full name and community of residence.
Your Worship, we have no one in the gallery this evening, and if I look online, no hands up online either.
Thank you. So that moves us smartly along to item 10.1, sewer connection and user change bylaw. Bylaw number 1593, amendment to bylaw 2543, 2025 adoption. And a mover and a seconder for the following staff recommendation: that sewer connection and user charge bylaw number 1593, amendment to bylaw number 2543, 2025 be adopted. Moved by Councillor Shoesmith, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Item 10.2, water connection and user charge bylaw. And the following staff recommendation will require a mover and a seconder: that water connection and user charge bylaw number 1594, amendment bylaw number 2542, 2025 be adopted. Mover by Councillor Audia Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. And that then moves us along to item 6.1 under business, strategic action plan, proposed sequencing to inform budget discussions. A report from Ms. Jansen, our Director of Asset Management.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This presentation introduces the strategic action plan for 2026-27. Council has already set clear strategic direction through the strategic plan and reinforced that direction through the November budget guidelines. As the organization moves into budget deliberations in the coming weeks, the plan is intended to support council by providing shared context for those discussions. So in November, council endorsed those budget guidelines, and they explicitly directed alignment between budget development and council's strategic priorities. In response to that direction, staff prepared a strategic action plan, translating council's identified priority focus areas into a proposed sequencing of work. That sequencing is not a list of projects. It reflects consideration of capacity, readiness, dependencies, and where additional resourcing may be required to responsibly advance council priorities. The strategic action plan is then supported by a corresponding operational action plan, which contains the specific projects and initiatives used to implement that sequencing. The strategic action plan before you is intended to support council right now by providing a sequencing framework to inform those upcoming budget discussions. So what follows tonight is a high-level walkthrough of the proposed sequencing of each priority area focused on intent and outcomes. Before walking through the priority areas, I want to pause briefly on how to read the sequencing. When we refer to now, we are not suggesting this work is starting from scratch. In many cases, council has already provided direction and funding, and staff have made meaningful progress. Now reflects a focus on consolidating and aligning existing work, bringing it together in a way that supports consistent decision-making and sets up what logically follows. Next reflects areas where the aligned work can be extended or formalized as readiness allows, for example, through clearer plans, policies, or frameworks. And later signals additional work that is important, but intentionally paced to align with capacity, dependencies, and timing, not because it lacks priority, but because sequencing matters.
Sorry, can I ask a question to that effect? Is it okay to interrupt? Sorry. The now, next, later, like I get the context and it was well explained in the report, but in terms of specific timing, where is that housed? Is that in the strategic operational action plan? Like, because it feels, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, it feels a bit vague, now, next, later, and then I trust it's somewhere, I don't want to suggest you have it in a Gantt chart, but you have it somewhere where you know the sequencing down to the month, for example.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So the timing was intentionally left out of this presentation because this is like a governance tool intentionally positioned before the budget process. And so you'll see timing as directors present their budget presentations. Okay. So this is just serves as a preview of that. That
is helpful. Thank you. Mr. Barnowski.
Just one note also, Ms. Jensen, this is for the next 2 years. So all the now, next, and laters are contemplated within the next 2-year time frame. Okay. So they're pretty immediate sequencing. Okay. For council's strategic plan implementation.
Yeah, thank you. Because there was one, and we'll get to it eventually, that I had a specific question about in the later category. But thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you. So as I said, the action plan is intentionally high level, focused on outcomes, and is aligned with a supporting operational action plan. So with endorsement, you will see those specific projects and initiatives outlined through budget discussions. So in service analysis, the focus in the near term is on consolidating and aligning work already underway, particularly around how service information is understood internally and presented to council. Council's previously provided direction and resources in this area, and we concluded our service level capability development work with Asset Management BC. Key staff have attained AMP certifications, and the now work is about bringing that effort together so information is consistent, comparable, and decision ready. We're advancing tools and processes for continuing to improve service analysis. So the next phase extends that aligned work into a clearer inventory of services and a more consistent engagement framework. And later phases, the later phase signals deeper service reviews, intentionally timed so they are proportionate, targeted, and aligned with future budget decisions.
Sorry, Director Jansen. Councillor Adi Kelly.
Thanks, Your Worship. Director, I realize that this is intentionally high level, but for the citizens who are listening, could you kind of give us an example of what we might be talking about when we're talking about consistent tools and strong foundations and that kind of thing? I can think of an example for the community platform being updated, but I was trying to think in my brain what a concrete example would be for folks so they would understand what we're trying to do.
Thank you through your worship to Councillor Adia Kelly. So this was intended to be high level just to keep us at that governance level, but you're correct in tangible examples of projects. They will come forward through the budget process, but the engagement tool is one of them. One of the work that will be coming your way probably the quickest is a consistent way that we're attaching service analysis to council reports.
Thank you.
And certainly we'll provide more context in the coming weeks. So from a resident perspective, the most visible change through this strategic plan period or strategic action plan period is clearer information about city services, what the city does, what residents can expect, and how those services are discussed publicly. There's also greater transparency around engagement. Residents have clearer signals about when and how they can participate and how their input informs decisions. So over time, this supports better informed conversations between council staff and the community about priorities and trade-offs, grounded in shared information rather than assumptions. For capital investment, the Now work consolidates asset condition, life cycle, and cost information that council has already supported through previous initiatives. This is about aligning that information so it can reliably inform planning and funding decisions. The next phase extends that work into clearer 5 and 20-year capital plans, translating technical information into predictable funding investment pathways. The later phase reflects further integration and refinement, including additional funding tools once earlier planning steps are complete and aligned. For capital investment, the community experience is less about individual projects and more about confidence and predictability. As asset information and planning are aligned, residents have clearer visibility into what infrastructure needs attention and why, rather than encountering decisions in isolation. So capital planning is communicated with longer-term context, helping the community understand how investments fit together over time. This also supports confidence that affordability is being considered, that decisions reflect condition, risk, and cost over the long term, not just short-term pressures. For the permitting process, the Now phase focuses on consolidating and stabilizing work already underway as the city completes the transition to digital permits. We're fine-tuning to provide the building and development community the consistency and reliability they need to be confident in investing in Fernie. The next phase extends that stabilized foundation into clearer guidance, improved tracking, and more consistent reporting. The later phase reflects additional functionality that is best advanced once systems and workflows are fully settled. For the permitting process, the most visible change for the community is predictability. Applicants experience clearer steps, more consistent requirements, and earlier feedback as processes are stabilized and aligned. There's also improved access to information online, reducing the need to rely on staff for basic inquiries and helping applicants understand expectations earlier in the process. Together, this supports a permitting experience that is clearer, more consistent, and easier to navigate over time. In housing types, the now focus is on aligning work already underway, including development approvals, infrastructure capacity analysis, and service readiness to support realistic and deliverable housing outcomes. The next phase extends that work into clearer policies, updated development cost tools, and zoning alignment, particularly as provincial legislation is implemented. The later phase signals larger planning updates and potential incentives that depend on infrastructure planning, legislative clarity, and community engagement being further along.
Sorry, I'll take this opportunity to ask that question. And based on Mr. Bornowski's response and yours, Director Jansen, the later phase, and this may clarify for me, there's a one about an update to the official community plan to guide long-term growth. And we are in the throes of updating our official community plan, but that is a longer term effort. Like won't happen overnight. So is that consistent with the later? Do you understand my question? Like that'll happen in the next couple of years.
Yes, that's correct. So that's taking into account the planned cycle of that update. So
Okay.
the existing
okay.
engagement that's underway and the existing audit of policies of our planning team.
Okay, thank you. That is helpful because that's the one I flagged, and I helps me understand the as Mr. Bornowski has also said, the sequencing here, the distance. Thank you.
So for housing types, the community experience is fundamentally about clear expectations and more reliable service-oriented experience when navigating building and development in Fernie. From an applicant and resident perspective, this means clearer requirements, more consistent processes, and a shift toward a more supportive and predictable experience, reflecting Council's direction to move from a purely regulatory mindset to a facilitative one. It also means greater confidence that housing decisions are aligned with community housing needs and with infrastructure capacity. So conversations about growth are grounded in what services and infrastructure can reasonably support. Over time, this supports more transparent and constructive discussion about trade-offs related to housing diversity, affordability, and community character. Across the 4 priority areas, the sequencing provides clearer line of sight between Council's priorities and the information that will come forward through the budget process. It also helps ensure that information comes to Council before key trade-offs are required rather than other decisions, rather than after decisions have already been made. And finally, by pacing work intentionally, the sequencing reduces the risk of overextension or rework, supporting service continuity and more sustainable decision-making. Taken together, the sequencing is intended to support better decisions, not more decisions, as Council enters budget deliberations. Council has already provided clear strategic direction by identifying the priority focus areas within the plan and reinforcing alignment through the budget guidelines. What's before you today is staff's preparation work in response to that direction, a proposed sequencing that reflects capacity, readiness, dependencies, and where pressure points may emerge as we move into budget. Endorsing the sequencing provides a shared framework for the upcoming meetings, supporting informed discussion and trade-offs. And again, taken together, this closes the loop between Council's direction, staff's preparation, and the decisions Council is being asked to consider next. From here, Council will see the detailed projects and funding options come through the budget process aligned to this sequencing. And the resolution on the slide reflects that intent. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions, comments from Council? Councillor Shoesmith.
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. How far out are we from updating our DCCs?
If you give me a moment, I'll just quickly open that particular phase of work.
It is in the budget and plan to start in 26.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, comments? Councillor Audie Kelly?
Thanks, Your Worship, and this might be a question for a CAO. Amenity cost charges, will we be looking at those in line with updating our DCCs?
We haven't landed on also creating a brand new amenity cost charge. If we do, it'll be a very rudimentary one because we don't have a complete and up-to-date parks and recreation or facility master plan that would then inform what amenities we will need for growth that then informs the projects and the calculations for ACCs. So if we do, it would be extremely rudimentary as a first cut and then need a major update once those future planning documents are completed. And I should add, if I may, to council for clarity, the DCC update is probably a 12-month project. So it is budgeted and planned to start this year, but it will likely not be complete this year. It takes that long to work through that kind of a project.
Further, Your Worship?
Yeah, further?
The facilities review
Assessment.
Thanks, Your Worship. I was struggling for the word. I know that Director Logan has been working on that. Do you have a timeline for us on when we might see it?
Thank you, through Your Worship, to Councillor Adia Kelly. The Facilities Assessment Project is being coordinated for this year and is a now project.
Thank you.
If I may, further to the ACC discussion, as staff determined the sequencing for the DCC project and our capacity and otherwise, we did discuss the need to explore the options around ACCs as a matter of context for us as we move. And then in the later phase of this plan, we're exploring potential ACCs as the sequencing on service analysis, in particular in those areas outside of core water, wastewater services, come together with more up-to-date information.
Thank you. I'm curious, post-budget, then will council see the strategic action plan that are more refined and with, maybe not to my initial question, maybe not broken down by timing in terms of months, years, whatever, but the sequencing and how where we'll start and where we then see the individual components or additional components roll out further down the road?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. The intent is to wrap the reporting out on this into our quarterly reporting and the annual municipal
say that,
report, and
yeah.
we'll specifically touch on the actions that are making progress within that.
And then presumably part of that quarterly report will be, we're here on this now, this will be next.
Correct.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Other questions or comments? I only had one other comment, and it's a bit tongue in cheek, it's a caution against some of the acronyms. And I appreciate this report was written for council and, coming from staff to council, but there's an awful lot of acronyms. So just a caution that it's occasionally hard to follow. There's CSP, SAP, and then SOAP, and then it just sort of gets a little bit confusing.
Thank
Councillor
you.
Kelly.
Yeah.
Regarding,
Sorry,
apologies.
Director Jansen. I had that same feeling when I was reading it, Your Worship, just because we might understand what that means, but I'm not sure the community does. Like amenity cost charges, for example, is that something that people really know what those are?
Thank you, Your Worship. If I may, this is sort of the technical document of this plan, and as we move through in the next few weeks into the budget process, we have a designer that is working on that public-facing communication piece.
Thank you so much. With that, unless there's any other questions, I will read the recommendation. Mover or seconder that council endorse the proposed sequencing of actions within the Strategic Action Plan 2026 to 2027 to inform the upcoming budget preview and budget deliberations. Moved by Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Nixon. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Director Jansen. And now it's a report from our Acting Director of Planning, Mr. Simolini, the adoption of amendments to Notice on Title Policy.
Thank you, Worship. Bear with me. I have one presentation for the next three items as they're all related. So we'll go through. I have the recommendations set in the presentation so we can get to the recommendations and then move to the next item if that's okay with you. I'm not the chair though. If
No,
sorry,
that
perfect.
works fine. Yeah, just, we can ask, we'll pause at the end of your discussion of the policy and then we'll move on.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. So tonight we're just looking at the notice on title policy and then two potential notices on title to come forward. Just quick background, notice on title policy was reviewed by council in mid 2025 at committee of the whole, and then the policy was adopted in late 2025 by council. The purpose of the notice on title policy is to allow council to make a decision on putting notices on title. Notice on title is something that is recommended by the building official when work is done in contravention of our building bylaw, for example, work that's done improperly, not fixed properly, or work that's done without building permits. There is a process that happens with these where we notify the applicant or the property owner on several occasions before we bring it forward. So there's a very robust communication that does happen prior to it coming forward to council. Benefits of this, just very briefly, notices on title do hinder the planning department's ability to issue permits in that they when there is a contravention of a bylaw, it often takes a lot of the department's time. So a notice on title allows us to sort of put a stop on that and have the notice live on title and give the applicant an opportunity to come forward with the proper process so we're not doing things out of process and using up a lot of capacity. Amendments to the policy itself, very small amendments, just the removal of the word health from the health and safety perspective. Health isn't something that's judged by the building official, so we just wanted to ensure that that was clear. And then, sorry, also just clarification that the building official only recommends to council. It was a little bit unclear in the policy. It was worded a little bit funny so that it almost could have given the notion that the building officials are making the decision on putting the notice on title, but it is council's decision, to be clear. And then lastly, this isn't necessarily a change to the policy itself, but just wanted to confirm that these discussions are open to the public when we're looking at notices on title, so that it's not done at in-camera meetings. That is the end of that recommendation, Your Worship. So if you'd like to discuss that when we're...
Yeah, any questions on the policy? Councillor Amadas.
Thanks, Your Worship. I may have asked this at Council Committee of the Whole, but forgive me if I'm repeating myself. Can you just walk us through how someone who has a notice on their title can remediate and how can they get it out of their title?
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Amadas, it's a fairly simple process and just following the city's processes. So if you have a notice that's put on title, you apply for your building permit to get the work inspected and looked at properly. And then once that work is complete, then the notice can be removed from title. Similar to going through the process, at any point during the process of a notice on title, we send out 3 notices before we come to you. If that property owner applies for their permit to remediate the work at any time during that process, we typically would not come forward to council, and we give the property owner the opportunity to get it fixed.
Further?
Thanks, Your Worship. I was just wondering, like, does that actually necessarily reduce the burden on planning department? Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like there is still a contact with the building officials despite having a notice on the title. You know, are you following what I'm trying to say, Director? Like, it just feels like it's on the title. That's okay, but if they want to remediate, they still have to contact you and have some paperwork done beforehand. So how does it actually reduce your burden is where I'm confused a little bit.
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramadas, just to clarify, when work is done outside of our processes, it often causes a lot more work for us to then turn around and have to deal with that through remediation or regulatory things. And I guess what I'm saying is, without the notice on title process, work that's done illegally, there was no process of how we dealt with that. So we're dealing with everything out of process. So this notice on title process actually gives us a regimented way of dealing with those. So there was a lot more work that went into those, that illegal work beforehand, because we just didn't have a proper way of dealing with it. And now we do.
Well, and presumably there would be circumstances where it's not necessarily a life safety issue. And the individual isn't going to fix it, and we're not willing to take it to a solicitor, for example. There's a notice on title, and so that property is then encumbered. You don't have to do any more work on it, but it's encumbered until such time as that person tries to sell it.
That's correct, Your Worship. And even just having dealt with a lot of open permits throughout the years, just having a permit that was never closed properly, albeit the property owner might not have called for final inspection,
right,
or something like that. And then they fester and they sit there forever. And then, 5 years down the road, you get a request for a sale of the property to look at it and you say, well, this was never done properly, or it was never, the loose ends were never tied up. So this is a way of tying up those loose ends before it becomes a legacy issue.
Mr. Bornowski?
Thank you. If I can specifically, we experience a lot of file information requests for properties as they're sold. We can't deal with those efficiently without some form of notice on title where there are open or incomplete or illegal works done, and we haven't put that notice on a title. The solution now is for someone to come in and do an FOI, creates a huge administrative burden where we then return to those files that we have to maintain going back years. And so what this process does is it allows the building officials, rather than annually trying to remember or make time to engage with everybody who's got an outstanding permit or works that weren't done properly without a permit, or files that simply haven't been closed, is to have a standard process where administratively we notify all those property owners with permits, notify them again, notify them a third time that it's coming to council, and they have the opportunity to come in and get a building permit and remedy it. And if not, we can close it, put a notice on that title, and then when someone goes to buy that property in the future, they know. And so they can do their due diligence without us having to run file access requests or FOIs. So it removes a lot of background administrative burden outside of the planning department specifically, but as Mr. Similini said, it really is about freeing the building officials up to look at live, real files rather than worrying about old, dead, or stagnant files.
Yeah.
Mr. Similini?
Thank you, Mr. Bornowski. And further to that, it removes the need for file research, right? If somebody asks for the information request and it's a 5-year-old file, you have to go through paperwork and try to find what happened, and especially with staff changes and things like that. There's a notice on title that's available on title to anyone in the public to see, right? So they can pull title, see that there's a notice, ask the city what that notice is about, and then we have a record of it. So it's really straightforward, and instead of having to go through the file and go through old emails or whatever else to find out what the issues were, it just really effectively helps us to get those done way more expediently.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Roddy Kelly, are you okay? Okay. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan, for yourself to staff. Thanks for clearing up the misconception around the wording. I definitely had that misconception previously. So I'm given to understand we have quite a few open permits that are just languishing. How many of those are out there that are going to wind up percolating their way up to council?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Shoesmith, nobody knows. There are a lot of building permit files, and as they come up and as we see them, we deal with them. We have had a really good success rate with dealing with them thus far. Like, as they've come up, we've notified applicants and they've come through and applied for permits, and that typically gets taken care of. So I can get you some numbers on the success rate we've had so far on the ones we've seen. We can bring that forward to another meeting if you'd like, but this is two of many that we've we've started. So typically the response is very strong to get them buttoned up.
Thank you. Further?
Further? Yeah.
Just to walk through the listening public, the ramifications for receiving a notice on title. What can that mean for somebody who's got one?
Your worship, through to Councillor Shoesmith, ramification is that once there's a notice on title, it's a little bit of a, I guess maybe a black mark on your title. There's not necessarily a financial impact, but if you're trying to sell your property, for example, and there's a notice on title and somebody sees it, it may affect that sale, and it may force the property owner to have to take care of that. So that's an example of what one of the ramifications are. But there's no, it's not like a punitive thing where you're going to get fined necessarily for a notice on title. It's more of a figurehead type thing that goes on title, and it's a way to get those property owners to take action.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Hamilton?
Thank you. Following in that kind of vein of impacts on the title of the property owner, in the report it talked also about insurance. And how would the notice on title potentially affect an individual's home insurance?
Yeah, through to Councillor Hamilton, I'm not sure exactly how it would affect it, Councillor, but again, if there is a notice on title in a potentially unsafe condition, and the insurance company was aware of that, the property owner may have trouble getting proper insurance.
Yeah, and I really appreciate Councillor Shoesmith's question about how many are out there, because we've had, without spilling too many beans, we've had a homeowner come to Council Cafe who's bought the home in the last couple of years and has discovered he has an open permit that was issued and never closed in 2004. But because there's no notice on title, the realtors weren't aware of it. Nobody was aware of it until he went to seek another building permit. And it's in terms of how they percolate, he's working very hard with staff to resolve it. He certainly doesn't want to notice on title, but he wants to close it. So it's interesting how that one will never come before council, so to speak.
Yeah, if I may, Your Worship, and nobody wants that, right?
No.
Like and it's a way of taking care of them in a timely manner as well. So yeah, absolutely. No one wants to buy a house and then 10 years later when find out about something, right? That's
right. Exactly right. Yeah. Councillor Kelly?
Your comment sparked a question for me. So if I'm that person and I had bought the home and I discovered that the permit is from 20 years ago, where am I at in terms of like building codes even? Because the code was different in 04 than it's now. So does that like create a whole can of worms for me that now I have to come to current code, or how does that work?
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Nadia Kelly, it's completely dependent on the degree of work that was done, right? I mean, typically these notices on title aren't for anything really major. Like if you went and built a house without a permit, for example, it would get you a notice on title, and then you'd have to bring it up to current code because we really don't know when you built the house. A lot of them are more minor, like you're supposed to complete your landscaping and someone gets their house and they move into it, they get like a temporary occupancy, and then they don't actually do the landscaping, so the permit doesn't get closed. So it could be as minor as something like that, which council will probably never see. We wouldn't put a notice on. We may have to put a notice on title for something like that just to take care of it administratively, but the hope is that the applicant would put grass seed down, right? So anyhow, yeah, there's so wide ranging that the code may apply in different aspects, if that's a decent answer. Yeah.
Thank you. Councillor Ramirez.
Your Worship, again, sparked interest this conversation here. I was just wondering, like, with the cloud permit that we are implementing, has that got any impact on this? That's my first question. And the second question is, does this have any impact on the number of permits that are in the backlog for the construction season here, or they're unrelated?
Yeah, through to Councillor Ramirez. Notices on title aren't necessarily related directly to cloud permit, because in order to be in cloud permit, you have to have a live application. So if you've done work without a permit, for example, your application won't come live into cloud permit until you've made that application. So that's not how we track notices on title necessarily, but that's an example. But as far as the backlog goes, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's an indirect relationship, but the fact that we will be saving staff time with doing notices on title, in turn gives us more capacity to be able to issue permits, which decreases the backlog.
Further, Councillor Nixon?
Thank you, Worship. I'm just curious about the contact the municipality for more information part of it. So when the new person comes in, they see that there's a notice and title on the property that they're about to buy. How long will it take for us to like get that information to them? Is it immediate or is it like weeks or? Because sometimes there's a real estate deal that's, you know, kind of tight, right? So just curious about that.
Yeah, Your Worship, to Councillor Nixon, it certainly would be much quicker than the old path where we had to follow and dig through files to try to find exactly what happened. But the idea here is that we have a database of notices on title, and in that way we can look up the address or look up the property file, and all of the information is there to send to the applicant. So fairly quick turnaround time on something like that, and understanding that that real estate deals are sometimes, you know, you have to meet conditions within a few days. So the goal is to be able to respond in a very quick manner.
Yeah, and just an anecdote in support of that, this individual who came looking for the outstanding permit came one Council Cafe. We directed him to the right person in the planning department, came back with a response. The next time was delighted, and now was on the path to resolution. So it was a quick turnaround for sure. It was a matter of days.
Yeah. To be clear, Your Worship, the notice on title itself is just the notice on title.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the
No,
information on what it's for, right? So
Understood, yeah.
that's why it says contact the municipality.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, further? Seeing nothing, I will read the recommendation. Oh, yeah, because we have to read separate recommendations for the two notices on title, correct? Yeah, sorry. The council adopt the amendments to the notice on title policy number CP 2025-3 as attached to this report. Mover? Moved by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. On to the first property to review for notice on title, 2001 6th Avenue, which is the Fernie RV Resort. There was an unauthorized picnic shelter built on the property, 19 square meters. Anything under 10 square meters typically doesn't require a building permit. What happened here was the inspectors were on site for another matter and observed the illegal structure that was built without a permit. And multiple notices were sent to the property owner. No response was received. The permit, stop work and do not occupy order were posted physically on the structure. It says in the report that those were removed. I don't know how they were removed. The city never removed them, but they were gone, like whether it be weather or somebody walking by or whatever happened. So they were reposted. And again, we have reached out to the applicant and haven't received any response since February 7th, so nearly a year. So we're bringing forward the we're bringing forward the notice on title application tonight for council to review and make a resolution on.
Thank you, Mr. Simley. Questions, comments? Councillor Hamilton.
Sorry, just a point of order, Your Worship. We've adopted the amendments, but we haven't adopted the bylaw. Are we able to move on to this one?
That's a good question. We've adopted the amendments to the policy, so the policy then stands.
If I may, Your Worship, and corporate officer can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is not a notice on title bylaw.
No.
Notices on title are governed under community charter. So the policy is essentially just a way for us that the community charter tells us that we can do notices on title and gives us sort of guidelines on how to do them, but it doesn't actually give us a sort of step-by-step procedure. So that's what the policy is there for us, to just make sure that they're done consistently, and gives council that assurance that this is how the notice on title policy or process works.
My apologies. I made bad notes.
No. With that, I will actually ask our corporate officer to read. These are longer. If you could read the recommendation.
Staff recommendation is that council approve issuing a notice on title for 20016 6th Avenue, Lot A, Plan NEP 91181, District Lot 4588, Kootenai Land District pursuant to Section 57 of the Community Charter, and that the corporate officer be directed to file a notice with the Land Title and Survey Authority of British Columbia pursuant to Section 57 of the Community Charter, and that upon addressing the remaining deficiencies, that the notice on title be cancelled.
Moore? Moved by Councillor Nixon, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. The second notice is for 561 Highway 3. Again, it was observed that there was some work done without a permit within the building. Communication went out to the applicant in June 6th, so not quite as long as the previous one. And again, we've sent multiple notices to the homeowner, or to the property owner, and we have not received a response as of yet. So we are recommending that a notice be put on title for this property as well.
Thank you. Questions from council? Councillor Ramirez?
Sorry, Worship, can we go back to the previous slide if you wouldn't mind?
Sorry, can you go back to the previous slide?
Can you just elaborate this, if you wouldn't mind, Manager? I've read it in the report, but I just want people to understand what went on here, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramirez, the property is the Fernie Cattle Co. building, and around the back side of that building, there's access. There's a basement to that building, and there was unauthorized work that happened in the building, and the building was being occupied residentially, I suppose, probably an employee housing type situation. That's speculation at this point, but and the property owners were told that you have to get a building permit in order to have safe residency there, and again, it wasn't followed up on.
Further, Councillor Shoesmith?
Thanks, Mayor Milligan. As a builder in the valley, I've definitely subcontracted to a lot of different people, and I've certainly seen things like red tags, stop work orders, doors being closed, revocation of occupancy and stuff like that. And in reading the report here, I'm kind of like, wow, that's not cool. What's going on over there? And I wonder, I've seen how impactful and heavy-handed the city can be. And I feel like in this instance, a notice on title, I mean, are they even going to care? I really do wonder, it seems pretty serious if that's the sort of thing going on there.
Councillor Ramirez?
I echo what Councillor Shoesmith is saying, Your Worship. I just feel like something is lacking here. Just a notice it lacks teeth. Is there any more measures that the city can take? Why don't we just cancel the occupancy, for example? Is that even on the table?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Ramirez, I believe a do not occupy is already posted on the building, so there is no occupancy to cancel, right? So I'd have to look into that, but I mean, as far as putting a City of Fernie lock on the door, again, I'm not sure legislatively how that worked.
Yeah.
We'd have to look in and report back to council on that.
And it seems to me, given my experience at the regional district, that if there were if it continued to be occupied, then we would escalate it to a solicitor and potentially a remediation order. Mr. Bornowski?
You're absolutely right. Our bylaw, as noted in the report, our bylaw officers have been engaged on a number of items over the history of the last couple of years, pretty much culminating in, was it June? Yes, June of this year. And are aware of the issue and the entrance to the suites that were built without permit and then occupied without an occupancy permit. And they're aware, and ongoing and escalating enforcement would and will continue. if it continues to be used illegally. And A, we respond to complaints, but B, the bylaw officers are aware and are concerned for life safety, as opposed to the building officials. They are concerned for health and safety, and so are aware of it and do keep an eye out. So that's sort of the enforcement route, is through bylaw enforcement and potential fines escalating to action, legal action or remedial action. And then this is specific to the title, so that any future purchaser of that property knows that while it may look like there are suites there, they can be occupied, and this is why.
Mr. Simulini?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Bronowski. And further to that, as far as more teeth even within this process, we will be bringing forward to council in the near future an update to our MTI bylaw, which ties the building bylaw to a fine structure. So for example, if you have a do not occupy that's issued, there's a fine that can be given. And if you continue to defy that order, then that fine can continue as well. So it does give those do not occupies or stop work orders or what have you more teeth in a financial sense. Again, not the notice on title that's related to the fine, but it's the action that caused the notice on title process to start in the first place.
Councillor Smith?
Thank you very much for the clarification. I appreciate that. I was just worried we'll stick it on there and then go away and forget about it kind of thing. So I'm very happy that that's not the case. I'm not generally in favor for coming down on anybody for anything, but I mean, a bunch of employees living in tiny little holes in the basement is really not, I'm just not okay with that.
Thank you. With that, I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation.
Staff recommendation is that council approve issuing a notice on title for 561 Highway 3, Lot A, Plan NEP 67081, District Lot 4588, Kootenay Land District, pursuant to Section 57 of the Community Charter, and that the corporate officer be directed to file a notice with the Land Title and Survey Authority of British Columbia pursuant to Section 57 of the Community Charter, and that upon addressing the remaining deficiencies, that the notice on title be cancelled.
Mover, Councillor Audie Kelly, seconded by Councillor Hamilton. Any further discussion? All those in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you. That brings us to reports from council members, and I will start on my right with Councillor Audie Kelly.
Sorry, Your Worship, not a lot to report, actually. I've been sticking pretty close to home. I'm looking forward to the couple of upcoming events, the BBB, the Ponies and Planks, and excited for those. And Rotary will be selling Grizz pins at Ponies and Planks. So buy a Grizz pin. And that's really, sorry, Your Worship, but that's all I really have for now.
No, that's great. Thank you. Youth Councillor.
Similar to Councillor Audie Kelly, I don't really have a lot to report on. I've just been doing a lot of school work, finishing the semester, but I'm also excited for the Ponies and Planks event.
Thank you. Councillor Ramirez.
Thanks, Your Worship. A couple of things, looking forward to the BBB myself as well. Just being the liaison officer with the Fernie Arts and District Council, looking forward to their next meeting. Going out there in a week's time to just have an informal meeting first and then prep myself for the actual board meeting in there. As well, something that is also maybe of interest to the community is the Fording River Extension open house is being scheduled. I can't remember the exact date. I think it's the Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So I would encourage people.
It's Wednesday and Thursday of this week. And
Yes, tomorrow.
Yeah, Thursday night is here in Fernie at the Best Western at 5:30.
Thank you, Your Worship.
You're welcome.
You have better information than I do. Anyway, I encourage people to go and attend the open house. And I'm also looking forward to attending it as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hamilton.
Thank you. As you previously mentioned, council cafes have been attended by a couple people, and strongly encourage people to continue to come out to them. Last night, I had the pleasure of attending my first FTA meeting. Really looking forward to working with that group of individuals and everything that they're doing in and around the community. I also had the opportunity to go and check out the high school capstone projects where Youth Councillor Parmar told me about her project and heard a bunch of others. It was really fascinating. The depth and breadth of projects that were completed by the high school students. I left there, got home and told my wife, the kids are all right. Kids are doing all right. It was impressive, to say the least. And other than that, forward-looking, I'm volunteering to sell Grispins at Ponies and Planks, and looking forward to the BBB, and just generally hoping that we get a change in the weather systems and bring back some more of a winter feel.
Thank you. Councillor Shoesmith.
Thank you, Mayor Milligan. Yeah, I too am hoping for a bit more winter for Ponies and Planks. I'll be donating my little jackhammer to put in all the fencing for that, so I'm hoping they do well. Not a ton to report as a council member, but all the charities are back to meeting together again, thinking about doing another Canada Day and perhaps bringing some mud bogs to the town. So stay tuned. There's going to be fun stuff there. And other than that, just a reminder to anybody listening that, you can catch me wherever I'm at working or out and about. Feel free to approach me. And if you have questions about the city or about any of my decisions, just feel free to approach me. I'm fairly easy to talk to. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nixon.
Thank you, Worship. Yes, the capstone projects were fantastic. The only complaint I have was it was only an hour. So I'm going to bring that up with the min there at the school. There was 104 projects and they were fantastic, all of them. And I was really, really impressed. And like Councillor Hamilton says, the kids are going to be okay. It was really good to see. Also, I just want to congratulate my a friend of mine, Dylan Marino. He's a former freestyle athlete who's going to the Olympics.
Oh, congratulations.
So he's perseverance, dedication, hard work. He did all that. He had an incredible injury. He came back from that, and now he's on the Olympic team. And his highlight for this whole thing, well, his Olympic run, which is going to be fantastic. But then he is part of the closing ceremonies, and he'll get to walk with Connor McDavid. So
worth the price of admission.
It's worth the price of admission all those years. So anyways, good luck to him.
Good luck to him. That's excellent news. Like everyone else, not much for me. I do get to get the first Grispin next week from Rotary, which is exciting. And we have our next OCP task force meeting on the evening of February 3rd. And that's looking forward to that because I missed the last one. I couldn't get logged on. Yeah. With that, we will move in camera and I'll ask our corporate officer to read the recommendation.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommendation is that the meeting be closed to the public pursuant to Section 91C of the Community Charter, as the subject matter being considered at this time relates to labour relations or other employee relations, and Section 91G of the Community Charter, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality.
Mover. Councillor Hamilton, seconded by Councillor Shoesmith. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is